Sixes and Sevens Footy Nerds is back live from studio. Well, Mitch is live from studio. I'm from my little dungeon here at Triple M Studios. The new show, the Reform Rat Bags, are going to be asked some questions from our footy nerd fans. I'm a little bit worried, actually, Piercy, that what kind of questions. Hopefully, you don't get any asked about the dog and what happened there, and me.
I want him to ask about the dog. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and I was just about to say before you cut me off that I'm a little bit worried about the questions: the bubbler, the car driving, climbing a tree, the cat,
banned from your own hometown for 2 years.
Things like that, mate. Just fire them at me. I can't have enemies when I've got you. You just fire me down all the time. How is me little mate? Still home alone. Mrs. is back in France. Your head would be spinning like a yo-yo. Can you tell me what's going on in that little pea brain?
I can't work it out. So yeah, mate, I need my missus back around. I need you down. I got you and your missus and your beautiful little family this week. Your little son coming down to stay for a little sleepover on Friday. So I've been counting down the days. I got your bed ready. I'm gonna cook you a mad feed. It's all ready.
You've never cooked in your whole life, have you? Can you cook?
I can cook. Very basic.
What's your go-to meal?
Steak and broccoli. Right, the boys used to come in France when I was living there and rock up to pick me up or whatever and come around and hang out, and there'd be just smoke. The whole house there was a little apartment, it'd just stink of smoke because I couldn't cook my steak properly. I'd just overcook it. And it was like a bushfire in there. You could smell it from 6 streets away.
How hard is it to cook a piece of steak, but?
I've got better. This was 2 years ago I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, but so you're 32 when you first learned how to cook a steak. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, if you want to be a smart ass about it, I probably learned early 20s.
Well, you are, because you just said you only learned how to cook a steak 2 years ago. So you're 36 now, or 35 now, so you're 33 when you first started cooking steak.
No, I said I got better. 2 years ago, I've evolved since then. So 2 years before that, clearly I was worse. 2 years before that, clearly I was worse. 10 years ago, I was worse. So I've got better. Does that make sense?
I can nearly sit here and guarantee that you wouldn't have cooked steak 10 years ago. You would have ordered steak.
Yeah, I didn't mind a little pub steak, to be honest with you. Are you a good cook? You actually are a good cook.
I do. I enjoy cooking.
This is the thing for the viewers, and everyone has a perception of Todd Carney. But ever since, if you actually know the guy, he's obviously clear now, and but even in your heyday of looseness, you've always been meticulous with cleaning and cooking and being organised. And some people wouldn't realise that about you. That's something that stands out. And everyone who knows you, you go to Todd's house or everything in his life, you are very organised, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess I've always been like that. And as you said, even through my rat bag days or the days of the dark, we call it.
The days of the dark.
The days of the dark. That could be
like a Netflix
show, the
movie.
Days of the dark. The days of the dark of PC and Todd.
I'm every chance of wigging out in that Netflix series.
Imagine they did a Netflix series of us when we weren't reformed rat bags.
I was in the cupboard.
And now we're just sitting here talking with our fellow footy nerds, which is what we're going to kick today off with. Like I said before, it's our exciting new show. Our fellow footy nerds are going to start firing some questions at us, which is really cool because we usually sit here and obviously dive into what we see and what we think about the game and stuff. And at the end of the day, for our listeners and viewers, we want to hear what you want us to talk about instead of us just sitting here dribbling, talking about whatever we want. Like we just rambled on for 10 minutes about how I can cook and you can't cook. So it's exciting. Should we get a drum roll?
I just love the name. Just want to put a statement out there. If you're not a nerd and you don't live and breathe rugby league, don't call up. We want every nerd in the game and fans on any platform part of our gang, yeah? Because we are nerds. Let's be honest, we're footy nerds and we want our tribe to be full of nerds.
And that's right. And that, as you said, like that's one thing we talk about when you want to play 6 or 7, you need to be a footy nerd. So if you're a 14-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid listening to this, you need to turn into a footy nerd. And on the back of that, everything that's everyone's talking about, footy nerd or not a footy nerd, Dylan Brown.
Oh.
We've got an interview here that we're going to listen to, and then we're going to dive into it.
Obviously met with them and we've discussed the way we're going to play. Numbers on the back haven't really been discussed. But yeah, no, there's obviously a lot of talent there, and yeah, I can't wait to go there next year. Yeah, look, I've obviously been a 6 all my career. Last year I've sort of had an opportunity to fulfill that number, and I'm learning on the go. Obviously, if nothing happens quick like that, it takes time. This year, obviously, Mitch has been out, so I've got more practice. But yeah, if that happens, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to take on the challenge. Yeah, look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I'm the one on the footy field, so I'm doing my best. That's all I can do, and when I go to the Knights, nothing's going to change.
Some people are saying that the Knights have paid overs for you. What would you say to them?
Once again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I play the best that I can, and offers are obviously been put in front of me, so I'll be silly not to take it.
I like that last comment. The offer's been put on the table, and I'll be silly not to take it. You know what? Never a more truthful word said. I like that.
100%. I actually listened to parts of the interview too just before we jumped on, and he speaks about it's not just about him. It's about family and setting himself up, which is you can't begrudge someone doing that. And hats off to him. I congratulate him, and well done for obviously securing a deal like that. There's no hiding the fact that Dylan Brown's an outstanding rugby league player. There's no one out there saying that he's shit. There's no one out there saying that he's a bad footballer. They're just obviously, as he said, which is true, everyone's got an opinion. And when $13 million price tag comes, even if Kalen Ponga went and signed a 10-year deal tomorrow for $13 million, or even say, let's flip it. Let's go back to Cleary. If Cleary signs a $13 million contract tomorrow, there'll be still people out there questioning if it's the right thing to do.
I think the thing is, Toddy, and we speak about it, like the media is the media. People's opinion, the world's full of envy and jealousy, and it's like that in any walk of life. Like as a player, and we can put ourselves in this position, we were well paid halves ourselves. I don't think the debate of someone saying are you worth it is the question here. It's more from the people in the know or the people that actually understand footy. I think there's two things to this. It's more from a club's point of view, a 10-year deal is just ridiculous. You can't guarantee a player that's going into their mid to late 20s that their body's going to firstly hold up for 10 years. You don't know what's going to go on with the coaches. You don't know what's going to go on with their star players that are going to... Who's to say Kalen's going to be there for another 8 years? So then all of a sudden what happens? So I think it's more the people that are actually giving an opinion or think this is quite outlandish from my own point of view. I think it's just ridiculous from any player to sign 10 years. I just don't understand it. Cherry Evans one, it's worked out well for them, right? Ches was 20 at the time, or early 20s, wasn't he, when he signed that? And even that, like I just said, full credit to Manly, that's worked out perfect for them. But the situation here is... We're talking to, I'll go back to the Cherry Evans one. Cherry Evans was an out-and-out 7. He was the man. He'd won a comp. He was Australian, playing for Australia. And you could see what the club's doing there. This situation for me is we're talking about a guy they're going up there to play halfback. He hasn't played halfback. Anytime he has, he's probably struggled in that position. We just heard him on the interview then say himself that he'll learn the role on the run. It's just a huge gamble. So it's just good to get clear with that. I just think from a player's point of view or people in and around the game, mate, the media is going to ask you about crazy price tags. Mate, players don't give a fuck. Like, to be honest, like I said, I'm happy for the guy. Good on you, bro. You've nailed it. You've got an amazing deal. A majority of the players are happy for each other. Like, the money's great in the game and the boys deserve it. It's not the money. It's the investment from a club for that long. It's just a huge gamble, and it's the positional play and the value to that team. Picking a guy that's a 6 to play 7.
It's an interesting one, and I can sort of flip it back to when I went to Cronulla. I got signed by Cronulla as a 7. I moved to Cronulla, started all my preseason playing 7. Through the first few rounds, I struggled playing 7 because me and Wade were both similar players. He was a 6 and I was a 6. So they moved Wade to back row, brought in Jeff Robson to steer the ship for the club. But they've invested, obviously, the money into Dylan Brown. Kalen's never going to shift from fullback. They've tried him at 5'8". They've put faith into a young kid in Sharp. They've moved him from the wing to fullback. for now 5'8". So if the Dylan Brown experiment doesn't work at 7, his next position is 6. Sharp's definitely not a 7. So does that mean Sharp gets shafted out the door and pushed a light and they bring in a natural 7? They've got a natural 7 in Cogger. He will probably pack up and leave. So it's one of those things that,
and also too,
experiment. The experiment is that it's got to work. He's got to work as a 7, and I'm sure Dylan's confident that he's going to go there and do that. But history shows that when players have gone there, that it hasn't worked properly. And the big thing is that the 7 they take there needs to free up Kalen. They need to give Kalen the best opportunity to play Kalen Ponga's football the way he likes to play. And it's all going to stem down to that. The way Kalen plays is the way the half has to play, in my opinion. So Dylan Brown has to learn to play the style that suits Kalen, not the other way around, because obviously Kalen's their strike weapon. So they need him to turn up there and do something different. And you're a prime example. You're one of the best halfbacks there. And you went there and succeeded at Newcastle. You've played finals football. What do you think it needs, or what do you think Dylan Brown needs to do to take it to the next level to free up Kalen Ponga even more than what he's freed up? Like, obviously they've got this year to worry about, but he's got so much more than just to go there and be a good number 7. He's got to then free up Kalen. There's heaps of work to do. And I'm confident, because we're not saying confidence. It's Dylan Brown's an outstanding footballer. He's an outstanding 6. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously there's two things. Obviously getting Dylan up there, take out the length of the contract and the money. Getting him up there with the halves available at the moment, it's a good pickup. If you were looking for to sharpen up your spine. But we said it before, the Knights are crying out for a halfback to not just complement Kalen, which is a big part of it, obviously to sharpen up their attack, which is going to help their whole team, which then gives Kalen better opportunities, etc. But a halfback to help their whole side, a halfback that's going to guide them in big moments, a halfback that's going to game manage that team, because at the moment that's probably what they're lacking. They've got a great group of outside backs. They've got a very strong forward pack. They've obviously got KP that wins games on his own when he's on. But yeah, they do. They need someone there to just take the pressure off. And the whole negativity around Dylan Brown is obviously that he's more of a flamboyant type of player, in a way similar to KP, quite floaty at times, plays the short sides well, likes someone else to take control, and he comes off the back of it. So he's going to have to shift his personality around. But me and you have been pretty vocal on the podcast the last couple of weeks. We spoke about Jerome Luai last week having to now go from second fiddle 5'8" to being that game manager, and the side effects to different parts of your game with that. We also touched on Luke Metcalf in round 1. He's always been that similar 5'8" type role. Now he's got to be the game manager, and other parts of his game suffer. So that's obviously all the obstacles that are ahead for Dylan Brown and Newcastle. But look, at the end of the day, taking all that aside, the club's made a decision. I loved what Dylan did say, that a club's offered me a deal. I'm going to take it.
You're going to take it, yeah.
Of course, and anyone would. And we're all happy for him. There's nothing personal here. Mate, well done to the guy. He's nailed it. He's a very good footballer. He's picked up a great deal. There's not one bit of negativity around that. It's just the fact of how's this going to look for Newcastle, how's this going to look long-term for the club. And when you invest so much money in 2 players, how does that affect the rest of the squad? Which is why salary caps are way over my head and how that's managed. But $3 million in 2 players, maybe more. What's the side effect? Who do you lose? Who do you gain? I don't know.
Sixes and Sevens is brought to you by Property 360.
Property 360 offers a complete property acquisition service designed to deliver quantifiable results for investors.
Their team of passionate acquisition advisors provides privileged insights and conducts thorough market analysis to secure the best real estate deals for you and your property portfolio.
As the preferred partner of NRL players and staff, Property 360 has a proven track record of helping clients grow their wealth beyond life on the field.
Head to property360.com.au to find out more.
Sixes and Sevens is brought to you by Good Day Daily Multivitamins.
If you're looking to take your health a little more seriously and you're not quite sure where to start, Good Day is simple and effective way to get yourself essential vitamins and minerals.
Packed with over 60 health benefits and 100% of your B vitamins, it's the easiest way to feel good fast.
With a delicious passion fruit taste, just pour one sachet into water and you're good to go.
Head to begoodhealth.com.au. Use the code halves for 10% off your order. Pair that with a subscription for a 20% discount. It's the least you could do.
All right, well, the hot topic is off the list now. We've got producer Cody now ready to get our footy nerd questions fired away. Are you ready for them, Mitch?
Yeah, let's go.
I can't wait. Let's go.
Sweet. So a few of these are off the back of the big Dylan Brown news this week. First one's from Lachlan. Thoughts on who should replace Dylan Brown at Para? There's a few options going around. Luai, Galvin, Tyron Wishart, Bevan French, or even Todd Carney.
I actually got an Instagram message from someone that Josh Reynolds had done it. I think he was only 34 when he done it. I'm 38 and I'm washed up. So I'm definitely out of the picture. The big one straight away that has got me giggling is there's talk Jerome Luai is an option to go to go to Para. Like it's got to be outlandish. It's got to be. It's crazy to even think that. If I was Parramatta, I would get the Newcastle checkbook out and give Lachlan Galvin a $13 million contract.
Lachlan Galvin?
Well, not $13 million. I wouldn't give him a 10-year contract. But if I'm going to go down that path of signing an out-and-out 5'8", Lachlan Galvin's my pick. He's already come out this week and said that he's going to go to the open market on November 1. So he wants to test the market. Him and Mitch Moses, what better player to learn off? Obviously, he's got Jerome Luai there to learn off. But if he wants to test the market to go to another club, Parramatta, obviously, they're in similar positions of where they are in the ladder at the moment. I'm sure clubs like the Chooks will go hard for Lachlan Galvin. There'll be plenty of suitors for Lachlan Galvin. But if I was a Para board member or recruitment officer, I'd be tempting the question to Lachlan Galvin.
If you're a young half, or any half now, and your manager, as soon as you're coming off contract, you're going straight on the open market. And why wouldn't you? I wish we were still playing. Like the money getting thrown around, mate. Every player just be licking their lips, going,
"How old are
when
you?
the fuck's my contract finish?"
How old are you?
I'm 35.
Fuck, surely.
Trained this morning, bro. I actually looked all right.
You looked all right at the sports game. I'd only sign somewhere.
Let's not start this.
If they sign me and Piercy 6 and 7.
Let's put it out there.
That's the deal.
Let's put some baits out there and see what we get offered.
English Super League clubs come at us.
Now I'll tell you out of that. My answer to that.
$5 million.
My answer
for
to
1
that.
year.
What are you going on about?
I said I want $5 million for 1 year if I sign somewhere.
Oh, Toronto. Sonny, didn't you sign that?
Yeah.
Bevan French for me. We saw him playing the Vegas season opener for Wigan. He's just been absolutely dominant over there. Love that question from the fan, tossing in Bevan French's name. Out of all the pick of them, obviously Galvin, I agree with you. From an age point of view, for his ability, building the club around, he's your best bet. Probably there off those names that were thrown up and the options. But yeah, Bevan French for me. I'll be if I'm an NRL club like Para that wants a out and out 5'8" that suits the modern game, I'll be going over and I'll be offering big money to Bevan French.
Beautiful.
Bevan was at Para too, probably worth noting, before he went over to the Super League.
Yeah.
He came through the NYC system.
Wing fullback.
Yeah. The next question, similar to Toddy, you touched on this already, but Galvin's management's gone to saying that he's going to the market at the end of the year. Are there any other clubs that could use him outside of the Eels? The Roosters and Bulldogs have also been thrown.
There's all clubs would be interested because he's a young kid. He's marketable. He's got obviously the longevity in front of him. He's only new to he showed glimpses of what he can do in his first year. The big test for Lachlan Galvin is how he plays this year. He's got to outstanding forward pack in front of him at the moment. He's got a steering half with Jerome Luai. So I think for Lachlan Galvin it's smart for him to go to the market, but also I don't think he needs to be tied up too much with the conversation because he's only a young kid. I think he needs to get it done quickly. If he's going to go somewhere, it needs to be dealt with properly. We've seen how the Dylan Brown stuff was played out in the media. I don't think he should go down that path, but there'll be plenty of suitors. And my first one straight away is the Roosters. They've got Sam Walker coming back this year. They've lost Luke Keary. He's a young kid. He would look good in the Roosters colours. And like I said, he's marketable. He's got a long career in front of him, but there's plenty of clubs that would obviously throw the hand up and try and get a Lockie Galvin for sure.
It's not a good look for the poor old Tigers, is it, that round one, Jerome's just signed there for 5 years on similar money to all the other boys, and they're all talking about their halves wanting out. It could be just bullshit, but poor old Tigers.
Yeah, they just cop the wooden spoon after the wooden spoon. They're not just getting it handed to them; they're getting spanked with that wooden spoon now.
Yep. So I got a question from Mitch Moore. How do you think Jaden Campbell will play as a 7? Will he play like Jerome Hughes as a half, or somewhat structured?
No, well, I think from Jaden Campbell, watching him, and we all know him as that brilliant attacking player that he's played a lot of fullback, hasn't he? So I see him as a runner. He can definitely play on the ball and get back-to-back touches. He's done that in glimpses when he's played. But it was only a couple of weeks ago in the trial game, was it? When him and Brimo and who was the other one they had in there? There was 3 of them that just dominated.
Tinney,
yeah.
Keanu Kinney, yeah.
They had an absolute blinder together. And they were just bit of that ruck recognition stuff we spoke about Melbourne doing so well. They've got that natural instinct. So when there's a quick play of the ball and the game suiting their style, they're going to have a field day. So obviously when the game's not going as well and you're on the back foot, has he got that ability to manage the game? Well, he's going to have to, and time will tell. But there's no doubt he's better and more comfortable from my point of view, playing eyes up. What do you reckon, Toddy?
Yeah, well, he comes from a great pedigree. His dad was an outstanding player, and we talk about wanting to be the best. You need to obviously love the game, and for more reports, he plays like a 7. He's always had that instinct to play as a 7. When he plays fullback, he jumps in at first receiver a lot also. So I think he'll handle it, and the way that they'll play, he'll have to play to a structured at some point. But we always talk about when 5'8" move to halfback. When they play to structure, they lose their running game. The big concern for the Titans is that if they play too structured, both their halves will lose their running game, which is Brimo, we know what he does when he runs, and Campbell's the same. But one of them has to be the controller. And from all reports and the way the trials went, that Jaden will be the controller. He'll do all the kicking. He'll sort of orchestrate the set. So I think he's comfortable at doing it. But the challenge for any new half or someone that's trying to play half is playing on the back foot when your chips are down and your forward pack's getting beaten, or when you're chasing points. How does that happen? You don't just chase points from one play. You've got to actually work to chase the points. So if he knows how to do that, I'm sure he'll learn on the run. He's going to have to at the moment. But very good question.
All right, question from Taz. If you had to pick one pair of brothers to build a team around, would you pick the Trebojeviches or the Stewarts, and why?
Wow, that's a very, very, very good question. You want to answer it first, Todd? You want to think about it?
Yeah, I'll answer it first because I played with Gifty in overseas, so I'm going to go down and sit on the fence like you usually do. And I don't want Gifty ringing me and abusing me.
Me neither. That's why I was doing
he's a scary man, Gifty. He's a scary man, and I love snakes. So both sets of brothers are unbelievable. You've seen what Manly done with the great Brett Stewart and the great Glenn Stewart. They won comps. So history shows if we're going off of winning comps, we're going to go with Glenn and Brett for me.
Yeah, I'm going with Glenn and Brett on the back of winning comps as well. They've delivered. They've done it at every level. So have the younger crew as well, but the premierships, the consistency at club level, different teams too, but hasn't been there as much as as far as performance and delivery on trophies, hasn't been there as much as Brett and Glenn. So, but it's pretty ironic, isn't it, that they both pretty much play similar styles, and they just come straight after each other. It's actually pretty unbelievable, really. What freaks.
All right, next question we got from Morrow. Could you see the game evolving to 2 conversion kickers, one from the left and one from the right? Would this create a higher overall kicking percentage for the team?
No, Morrow.
Why not?
They've been tried and tested this, but it doesn't always work that way. A few clubs have done it in the past, and it doesn't work. And to be fair, when you're a goal kicker, you want to kick every kick. Like when I was goal kicking, I hated if someone else took a kick because I'd missed a couple. Someone would go, let us have a kick. So I just don't think it works. And when you're a goal kicker, you pride yourself on winning the games and coming up with big kicks in big games. And if the big moment comes and it's on the right side of the field and you're left foot kicker, you want to take that. That's where I think you earn your pennies if you're a goal kicker.
Yeah, I agree. And not every team might have a left foot kicker. There you go.
Yeah, true.
So,
but there's been teams in the past tried it.
Yeah, rattle them off. I'm trying to remember, Toddy. Who's done that?
You've tested me here.
Yeah, I know it's a hard one, but
I
can't actually remember seeing it. Maybe I was just tapped off and worrying about the kickoff or something. I can't remember seeing 2 changes to 2 kickers with a left and right footer.
Toddy, tell us about the time you set your mate's pants on fire.
Well, it was a trip. It was actually the end of the 2009. I just signed at the Roosters, sorry. And it was the off season before I started at the Chooks. So it was the off season of the 2009 season. So I'd done the preseason. It was New Year's, and so leading into the 2010 season, which was probably giving me the Dally M, because after this incident, Brian Smith told me that I wasn't allowed to drink alcohol for the whole year. So fast forward that, back to the incident, like all blokes do on a mates trip, there was myself and Jared Croker and all our mates from Goulburn. And when you put that mix together, it's a disaster. We'll put me and alcohol together, it's a disaster. So we'll just leave them out of it. So we had a few rules so we had this apartment in Airlie Beach, and the rules were you weren't allowed to go to bed until everyone said you were allowed to go to bed. So one of our mates, he's gone to bed, and we're like, oh, let's leave him, blah, blah. And then I'm not leaving him. So I went in there. We shaved his eyebrows first, shaved the front of his hair for second. He still didn't budge. He wouldn't get up. So we've pulled the sheets off him, and he had these dirty undies on. So I've sprayed the deodorant can with a lighter. Didn't think anything of it. Uh-huh. And then it's just gone a big like a flame went up, and it burned his bum. And obviously Brad was one of my close mates. I got played out in the media a lot. Obviously we didn't plan for him to get injured. That's how
burn a hole in your ass.
My mate's pants on fire.
So what the hotel staff came up to the room?
No. So I was the next morning. We were still kicking on. My mate was obviously filthy, and he was like, "I'm going to the hospital," and went down through the sort of like the general area of the resort we were staying at, and someone asked him, "Oh, what's wrong?" Because he was obviously in pain and hurting, and he explained what happened. Then that day, we walked past, so no one knew who it was. We knew who it was, but no one knew. So then I got a phone call from Noisy. Jared Croker got a phone call from the Raiders and said, "Oh, one of you's lit someone's pants on fire." So they didn't know who it was. So the people in the resort seen me and Jared Croker, and then they rang the news and said that something had happened, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously I owned up to it, and then it just went like wildfire.
How bad was the burn, Toddy? What did his bum look like after?
Yeah, he had like a scar and stuff. And I sit here and laugh about it. Like I've spent plenty of time with Brad since then, like, and he can laugh about it now. But at the time, it was obviously, it was pretty bad. Like,
how bad are we talking? Like he could have lost his balls.
Like he had to get like, I don't think he got a skin graft, but it was like big. He'd still have a scar today. obviously I didn't plan to send me mate to hospital when I.
How big was the flame coming out of his ass? Like just a little fire or like a massive like?
It was like a big. It was like something happened, man. It was like obviously we're well on our way. I'm probably exaggerating how the flame was, but yeah, it was big enough to burn his backside and for him to want to go to hospital
and still have scars.
Yeah, I've still got scars from it.
All right, I'll bring it back a bit. Do you think Todd Payten was right to drop Nanai this weekend? That's from James from Townsville.
Toddy?
I think it's a wake up call to the Cowboys team. Jeremiah Nanai's obviously an Origin player. He's usually a starting player for the Cowboys. He didn't perform, and I think it just shows a precedent that Todd Payten ain't gonna put up with poor performances from any player, as long as he sticks with it. If they go out and put a poor performance this weekend, and players don't play bad, or players play bad and they don't get dropped, I think it's a poor decision. But it just shows that he means business, and there's no hiding the fact Jeremiah Nanai was poor on the weekend.
It's a huge call though, isn't it? After one game, like you said, a rep player, one of their better players. So it's definitely a statement from the coach. He did say something after the game, Todd Payten, that he wanted the players to go away and have a think and come back with some answers. He sort of challenged them publicly, so no doubt it's a statement. Maybe
it'd be interesting to see if there's more of a story to it, if his attitude was poor this week at training.
Yeah, I've got a quote here from Todd Payten from the weekend. It says Jeremiah Nanai is an elite attacking player and he needs to improve some defensive part of his game, and he's going to get some time in Q Cup to do that.
It's huge, isn't it?
If you can afford to drop one of your best players to do that, it could be a masterstroke and it might not. But if I was the coach, I wouldn't be dropping Jeremiah Nanai after the weekend's performance.
All right. Is Trent Robinson under any pressure if the Roosters don't perform this year? They've lost a lot of players and not signed many. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the big one of that is if Trent probably doesn't make all the decisions who they sign and who they let go of. Some of the players that they let go of wasn't a choice for the Roosters. Luke Keary announced he was retiring, so he was then decided to go to the Super League. Jared Hargraves was wanting to finish a career in the Super League. Joseph Suaalii this was planned ages ago that he was going to rugby, same as Joey Manu. The other players they lost, obviously the big ones for me is Terrell May and Satili Tupanua. You lose them two. That's the bizarre one. The other ones that we knew, the club sort of knew that was happening. How they lost Satili Tupanua and May is the big one for me, and I think that's where the answers need. And because the way they played for their new clubs, the Roosters need that at the moment.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Roosters is obviously I do a bit of work there. Robbo would be safe and solid there, no doubt this year. He's a great coach. He's had 12 years of success now. I think missed the finals 1 year, 16. To be honest, I was the one who put the club in disarray after my dog incident. I missed half the season. Came back and played pretty good footy, mind you. Really made the Australian team. So to all you fucking haters, but yeah, of all of that success Robbo's had, like you just said, there's been a huge turnover of players. Luke Keary, as you said, was retiring, and the club wasn't sort of notified till at the back end of the year. Jared's sort of decision sort of at the back end, so it does put your club. Nothing against the decisions. That's footy. It's transition. Players retire, players change, but it does sort of probably change the way your recruitment was at the back end of the year. So yeah, it's a situation the Roosters haven't been in for a long time, isn't it? But we both know Robbo. Robbo will be there licking his lips. He relishes in this stuff. He's such a great coach, and he's going to have some curveballs up his sleeve, no doubt. He's a winner, and it's exciting to see how he deals with this challenge because he is an out and out great coach.
And the big thing that's going to come from it is that, like it or not, he's going to start getting attacked by the media. The media will start pushing that envelope of, oh, is Robson's job safe? Is Robson's job safe? Obviously, Nick's not one of someone who's going to come out and just obviously say he'll probably come out in public to support him. I mean, so as Mitch said, that Robbo will be relishing this, but it's the backlash that they'll cop along the way and how long that will last for if they don't pick up their performances. Who knows? The Roosters might go out and win the next 5 games and then the pressure's off. But any club that gets beat by 50 or that in the first round, there's going to be always pressure.
Question from Dale. Are there any young players that you think are flying under the radar?
Young players flying under the radar. Great question. Who's a good player flying under the radar that's come in? He's getting plenty of raps. Hopewadi on the wing for Manly. Just one off the top of my head. From the trial games and then the opening round. He's a different frame to the rest of the Hopowadis. As far as a lot of them are sort of thick in the legs. They've got a great pedigree, don't they? The whole family. I think out of John Hopewadi, obviously the father, the great John Hopewadi, from his sons and daughters, there's like 7 of them that are playing in the top.
He's got 11 kids, I think it is, and 7 have played NRL or NRLW.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So it's crazy, and it's an unbelievable effort from one John, obviously produce the kids that he's got, and then obviously get him to where they are. It's unbelievable.
So his son, he's been awesome for Manly, like on the game on the weekend, and then watching him close in the trial games. But yeah, he's a bit of a different body type to Will and the other few boys that have played in the NRL before, but yeah, a bit leaner, looks a bit leaner and taller, but super strong and quick. He's really impressed me. He's one off the top of the head. Bounced to Toddy.
Ethan Strange for me at Canberra. he's spoken about it. It's his second. The way he performed in round 1. Obviously, there's big raps on Lockie Galvin the way he is, and very similar ages. And I think Ethan Strange is on par with him, if not playing better than him. At the moment. So there's always hype on different kids, and that's the way the game is. The media is they pick someone and they push that hype. But I think Ethan Strange is a kid that if he was to test the market, his pockets would be full.
He's like a young Todd Carney up there coming out of Canberra. No, he's a Central Coast junior, isn't he? He's not a local junior. His dad
they picked him up.
His dad's the Roosters, women's Roosters team coach.
Yeah,
and he coaches.
His sister plays for NRLW.
State of Origin too.
State of Origin this year. Yeah,
great fella. His dad. I see him around a fair bit. He actually said he was going to be a fan of the show and watch the show. So I hope you're listening.
That's why I wrapped him.
All right, got a question from Donnie. Where does Payne Haas sit on the all-time front rowers?
I think when you get thrown up these all-time compliments, I think it's longevity more than anything. You know, you talk about winning competitions, playing rep footy consistently, going on Australian tours, this type of stuff to compete with your greatest of all time, your Glenn Lazarus, Blocker Roaches, Shane Webke's, who else we got? Jared Hargraves, Paul Gallen, these type of guys. But honestly, on ability, and so we didn't have the luxury to go and see, a Blocker Roach in his prime or a Glenn Lazarus to say. We got to see Shane Webke. I got to play with Jared Hargraves. But honestly, Payne Haas, from ability and what he gets through, just on pure talent, you'd have to ask those front rowers how they compared him. I reckon that's the best judge of a front row, what their counterparts say about him. But he's got to be up. He's got to be up there. He's on the way to be one of the greatest of all time. And if the Broncos can start winning comps and getting those prizes, well, I think he's right up there. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Tony? The answer to that for me is he's definitely up there. He's on the trajectory to be one of the best front rowers that's played our game. The way he's evolved his game this year, from only watching from round 1, he's only played 1 game this year, but he's changed the way he plays. He's dropped some weight. So the ability to obviously mold to the way the game's played. If you reverse it, and then he had to play the different style, big battering ram front row, he could do that too because he's the size of him. He's a specimen. But I think if he continues to get better Broncos win comps, and he just continues to own for the Broncos, own it for Origin, own it for Australia. He'll when he decides to hang up his boots, he's definitely going to be spoken about as one of the best front rowers in our game.
It's the motor on him, isn't it, Toddy? Like his fitness, he can do everything. There's nothing he can't do.
You look at front rowers these days when they got their shirts off, they've all got six packs and they're light, they're fit, and that's just the involvement of rugby league in the game. Like you look at the big guys, and big guys are never going to be pushed out because you need him. Look at Big Nelson, the way he played last year. Craig pushed him to lose some weight so he could add a different impact. The big guy will always be there'll be always a spot in the game for the big guy because you need him at some point. For the things we talk about is creating momentum and finding their front and laying a platform to get the team some momentum.
All right. Ben Dobbin reported Cobbo set to sign a small extension with the Broncos before being marquee target for PNG. Can you build a team around Selwyn Cobbo?
I think building a team around a winger's probably number one priority. As great as he is, I love watching Selwyn Cobbo. He can definitely play centre too, but first and foremost, a great pickup for Papua New Guinea if he's going to be one of their marquee signings. He's out and out freak of a footballer, but building a club around a winger, I don't know if that's something you can do. Is it? You can have him as a marquee, as a try scorer and a great player, but I don't know if you can have your winger as to build your club around. Can you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because obviously there's always talk that Selwyn Cobbo is a fullback. I think he's been tried and tested there. The way the fullback's evolving at the moment, the fullback's another 5'8", but they can catch and bring the ball back and sort of that side of a fullback. I think that's where our game's getting to. But he'd be a massive pickup for a PNG team. You look at the winger from Melbourne, Coates. He's got a PNG background, so he's a PNG, sorry. So he'd be a massive pickup for him also. It's an interesting one how it all looks for the PNG team. Who they throw their money at, what kind of money they got. Do they stick with their local guys or they search? Obviously, there's always talk that Lockie Lamb will come back from the Super League to be one of their halves, which is obviously a massive pickup for them because he's a PNG heritage, but obviously played in Australia for a long time.
Who would they what's the rules? Have they come up with rules about local players? Like how many they have to have in their squad in the new team?
I can check.
Talk around no tax for players going there and stuff like that. It'd be an interesting one, what players put their hands up, what players, because there's talk they will be living in a compound, so they won't be out in the community. They'll have like a sort of private compound.
You're going over living in a toilet cubicle for no tax, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to see a big man
experience.
Yeah. Maybe you could sign.
Let's go.
Yeah, there you go. That's our first team, 6 and 7.
There you go.
Old washed up, retired footy nerds.
Me, you, Cobbo, Lockie Lamb. Jason Dimitro's the coach.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right,
Cleary.
Question from Brett. Roosters looking to bring back JWH from the Super League already. Good, bad idea?
That's the craziest thing I heard when I heard that pop up. Who knows if there's any truth in it? You'd think that Jared sort of retired and went over there and is pretty comfortable over there. But what was the actual story? Was there any comments from Jared?
No, there's stories come out that Buzz Rothfield reported that the Roosters are looking at options or exploring options to pay out Jared's contract in the Super League to bring him back to finish his career back here. And it's now building a little bit of traction. The truth behind it, who knows? For me, Jared's not going to come back and make the Roosters win games, but for an alpha male, as we always speak about when we speak about Jared, the quality he brings to a footy group for a young group would be massive. But that doesn't mean it's instant success for the Roosters to win games, I don't think.
You'd think he's pretty comfortable over there, Jazz, wouldn't he? over in England. He's got the family over there. Obviously, if he did come back to the Roosters and his influence and leadership, I think that, you come off a big loss and you lose a guy like Jared, and someone like that's hard to replace. Very hard to replace. One of a generation player, not only one of a generation front rower, but one of a generation leaders. And when you take someone of that personality out, it has an effect, doesn't it? And there's probably everyone feeling that a bit. Not only that, the club's lost Boyd Cordner, Jake Friend, Mitch Orbison, all these
Mitchell Pearce,
all these guys that leave. They leave space in the room. They leave their legacy behind, but their voices have an impact. There's not that voice anymore. And Jared's such a big loss for that club. He's
not just on the field too. That's what he does away from the field, getting the group together, making the young guys feel comfortable. The morale around the joint. When you get beat in any game, doesn't matter if you get beat by 1 or 50. There's always a dull moment. And Jared, from his experience when playing with him, when Jared's in a room, he's infectious. He lights it up. He changes that mood and gets the negativity straight out. So they wouldn't be just missing him on the field. It'll be also off the field and what he does for the club away from the 80 minutes of football.
All right, question from Blav. Raiders look to have signed Jayden Brailey on a 2-year deal. What will he bring to that side?
I like this signing for Jayden. I played with Jayden for a couple of years. Terrific guy, great clubman. He was captain at the Knights. So obviously that speaks for itself, his influence and how much the boys love him. He's obviously struggled with a few injuries the last couple of years, which have sort of put a halt to what was looking like a potential rep career. There was talk of Brails playing State of Origin a couple of years ago. And then obviously the two horrible knee injuries, which has sort of put a hold on his career a little bit. Interesting move from Newcastle letting him on. He's obviously on, well, from what you read, he's obviously on pretty good coin up there. So it was obviously a play to sort of free up this money for guys like Brownie and a few other signings that they must be getting. It's obviously the way the club wanted to go. But if Jayden can keep fit, the way he plays at his best is a huge signing for Canberra and a great little icing on the cake for the spine they got up there. But question to you, Toddy, if he does go there, does that mean Levi's gone?
Yeah, well, I guess there'll be, obviously, there's always a backlash when you sign someone. So at the moment, they've got Denny Levi, Tom Starling, and Owen Paddy. Owen Paddy made his debut in Vegas, a young kid coming through. So one of them will have to leave unless they might have identified that Owen Paddy's not, he's there, he's signed there. So, and there's talk that the signing of Brailey will be for Owen Paddy to learn off, which is, I think it's a massive one. As you said, what it does is it complements their halves straight away, but it complements their big forward pack. They're bringing in someone that's played a lot of football, where Benny Levi's played a fair bit of footy, but he's been in and out of first grade, been over the Super League, come back and hasn't really found a home. So they've always been swapping and changing. But I think if you get someone like Brails, you get someone that's going to be there week in, week out, and the guys that are in that number 14 spot fight for that spot.
All right, question from Chris Wayne. Favourite boots you ever played in? Any good stories about what happened and why?
My favourite boots, I love Puma. I've got a good story because there's not that many stories about boots, really. You might have a few, Toddy, but my first game I played for Newcastle, the first 5 minutes, I was a huge crowd. Obviously, your debut for the club was a sellout against Manly up there. Ended up kicking a field goal, actually, just to put that in, to win the game. But the right foot, so the first 10 minutes, someone stomped on my boot, and the whole boot split, and I didn't have any spare boots. So, like, obviously, anyone who plays footy would realise that you're in a bit of shit when your boots split. Like, it wasn't like just a little bit. The heel had split off, so my toes were hanging out. So the trainer ran on, and I just said, like, you need to strap it up. So they just, literally the whole boot, they just covered it in the tape, the electric tape. Anyway, I was a bit worried about it because it's my kicking foot too, but kicked the field goal with it, so it makes the story
Did you kick
even
a field
better.
goal in those boots?
Yeah, I was on the right foot.
How good.
But when I first looked at it, I was like, in my head, I'm going, I didn't bring any. I normally take a spare pair of boots, didn't have any. And it's the first 5 minutes, and my toes hanging out of the boot. So luckily, the electrotape saved my ass, but it wasn't ideal. Like I'm thinking, in hindsight, what would have I done if I didn't have a spare pair of boots and I can't wear this one? I would have been fucked. You got any?
I wore a fair different pairs of boots when I was in 2010. My 2010 breakout season, the year I got the Dally and played for Australia. I was in discussions with Adidas and Under Armour at that year. At the end of the 2010 season, I went to Vegas, LA, Vegas, and Mexico with Nate Miles. And we're sitting there in LA, and we're like, how can we go to somewhere? Like, let's get a party or let's find somewhere to go. And I said, I'm actually in discussions with Under Armour and Adidas. And he goes, well, I messaged the dudes from Under Armour and said, do you have any contacts over here? Can we go to a place? When I get back, I'll get the deal done. Went to the party, carried on like a 2-bob lair. Didn't get the deal done. I signed with Adidas.
Do you reckon it was because of the night out that they just went?
No, I chose to go for Adidas. I got that taken off me a year later. But as I've said, I've been playing for a while and still play now. I'm always trying to find some different boots. Every time I look at boots, my little fella goes, Dad, stop looking at boots. You're too old to play and you just get injured.
No way.
All the time, every time. I'm always looking because I always want the flash of spare because I still wear boots at school every day. So I want to be the best bloke with the best boots at the school.
All right. What are the main differences in playing 6 versus playing 7, and which position is harder in your opinion?
Yeah, this is a great question. 6 and 7s. I feel like the last sort of 6 weeks we've been sort of touching on this subject a fair bit on this show, and only naturally talking about the teams putting the clubs putting their teams together, trial form, different players learning the 6 and 7 role. But probably to go on the back of what we sort of been preaching a bit. For us, a 7 is someone who's more of that on-ball player. Traditionally, the best way it works is that 7 is more of that on-ball player, the one that takes control of the kicking game, the organiser, someone who can create space for other players and really organise a set, that play for play. Traditionally, a 6 is more of a runner, more of an instinctive player, someone who's plays wider of the ruck, obviously more of that second receiver role through the game, and plays more of an eyes up type of role. You want to elaborate on that, Toddy?
Yeah, we speak of it, like I said, when I spoke about I was an out-and-out 6, went to Cronulla to try to play 7 and struggled at it because not that I struggled to steer the team around the park. What it done is it took my attributes away from me. I stopped running the ball. I stopped playing eyes up footy because I had to build a structure, tried to get the team around the park. Always wanted to play the easy plays to get to the end of a set, to build the game. If you look at your traditional, so if you look at the best halves, the best half in the game ever, well, now probably coming up there is obviously Joey Johns and Cleary, out-and-out 7s. Our best 5'8s are Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler, Trent Barrett.
Wally Lewis.
Now probably Cameron Munster because they're out-and-out. They don't try and play any other position. So there's a distinct difference between a 7 and a 6. The 6 is an out-and-out runner and plays eyes up in what he sees, but has the ability to fall back into a structure, where a 7 is an out-and-out just controlling the ball, understands when to kick, understands when the team's on the back foot, understands when the team's on the front foot, and has the ability to change the way he plays when he's got those options presented to him. Where for me as a 6, I was always just thinking, on the run. I'm just going to play eyes up footy and going to let my half control that. So that's what we always talk about when you move from 6 to 7. You think you can do it because it sounds easy, but then when you get in the moment and you lose that guy that's always inside you controlling it for you, it becomes a whole lot harder.
It's probably just on the back of that, Tony. That was so well explained, but it's funny because obviously this question, and there's so much talk around the Dylan Brown thing, who's a 6, who's a 7. I think the way the game is now, it's so noticeable because the way Nathan Cleary, Jerome Hughes, these type of guys take control of their team, it's so noticeable when the teams, that don't have that aren't able to build pressure, and they don't have that kicking game. So it gets tossed up a lot. It's probably always been tossed up a lot with this dynamics of halves, but you seem to hear a lot of conversation around he's a 6, he's a 7 more in the modern game now. And I think it's because that out-and-out 7 is so important to a team, isn't it? In the fact of, that kicking game and the game management and the game, just controlling the game, because these teams at the top, Nathan Cleary and they just go on leaps and bounds on everyone as far as, just controlling the results of games. And I just wanted to add that because it's a conversation that comes up a lot now of this whole what's the dynamics, what's a 6, what's a 7, but it's really noticeable in the teams that don't have that out and out 7 now, isn't it?
Yeah, and also talking on that, obviously for development of young kids, like I work with the Titans on their spine play, so 6, 7, and 1. The way us coaches teach is trying to traditionally teach them to play the 7 style. You can't teach a play instinct. You can't teach him to play eyes up footy. That just comes natural. That's something that they've gained when they watch footy or when they play footy. It's just the ability to switch and play that thing where you can actually teach someone how to play halfback from a younger age. So you teach them the skills of being a good halfback. Obviously, the kicking and passing is the big important one, but then obviously learning how to control the game. And it's sometimes not you don't do that on the footy field. You've got to do it by watching video on how they actually orchestrate their sets and why they kick. And it's an interesting one. It's something that we're going to bring forward when we do some of our segments is asking the players that are in the fine line, which is a 6 or a 7, of what makes them better than someone else. So it will have a clear answer to that to the current 6s and 7s.
All right, a bit of a different one here. Another one from Chris Wayne. Who do you think built the pyramids?
What are the pyramids?
Egypt, bro.
There you go. So I wouldn't have a clue.
See, these are the questions I like. Just weird,
Here he is.
Weird
Skittle
shit.
brains come out.
I don't have an answer to this one. Jesus, wasn't it? They say Jesus, don't they? Isn't that the...
Yeah, I think there's a few conspiracies as well.
All I know is that people that have gone there, and I want to go to Egypt, I want to see these pyramids, but they just say that it's just too crazy and too unrealistic to not have some sort of something behind it. That's all I've heard. They just said that these things have been built.
I'm going to do some research on the pyramids.
Yeah. Can we put this question back a week and answer it properly after we do some homework?
Yeah, you want to come back next week and we can do the pyramids with Todd and Mitch?
What's his name? What's his name, sorry?
This is from Chris Wayne.
We want to give Chris Wayne a proper answer of written knowledge.
Okay, we're coming back next week, Chris. All right, from Scotty Raider. Who are the most underrated players that you ever played with and what made them so great?
There's always talk that Jared Croker was underrated. That was only because he didn't play Origin or play for Australia. But his career was outstanding. So I think sometimes when people say, people are underrated because they didn't play Origin or didn't play for Australia, like it's very far from the truth that they're underrated. It just means that they had either good players in front of them, better players in front of them that played Origin for Australia.
You know who I played against that I thought was really underrated? And help me out here. Back rower that played with Cowboys and played for Queensland off Thurston.
Dallas. Gavin Cooper.
Gavin Cooper. He was a great player, Gavin Cooper. He was just one I remember because I remember saying to a few people in my early years, he was really hard to tackle. I ended up being a superstar.
Did he play 300 games?
I think he did.
Yeah.
But it's
a strange one, like when we talk about it now, underrated. But he played 300 games.
But I don't feel like until the back end when he started playing rep footy, he was really getting compliments. I just remember early days because he wasn't like a huge name in his earlier career. I think he started at Penrith, then went to the Cowboys. But I just remember like half defending against him from my early days. Like this was 20 years ago, 18 years ago. I remember saying to mates and stuff, fuck, how good's he? Like he was so hard to tackle. He was just someone who always worried me. And he ended up obviously playing Origin and winning comps and stuff like that at the Cowboys. But he was someone I remembered that I just had so much respect for, and that was such a good player. I jumped in at the start. Mitch Orbison, obviously a teammate at the Roosters too. We both played with Mitch. He was sort of a bit of an unsung hero, but Mitch was a great player. 300 games, underrated, and probably what Toddy was saying, didn't play rep footy, wasn't like the big name, but he was a super footballer. Probably underrated in the fact that like how good he ran lines, how good he was as a one-on-one defender. I played with Mitch from pretty much under 16s. We played a rep team together, and like he was like, as far as running unders lines, hitting holes, like skill set, all that stuff. Like if you're out training with him or playing with him, he was a very, very, very talented player. Probably didn't get the raps to that level that we saw.
It's a strange one then, underrated tag.
All right, question from Cody, funnily enough, not me. Hey, boys, what game did you feel at the peak of your powers where everything just flowed? Does anything stick out in your mind?
Ooh. I've had some, I always go back to the 2010 season for me, and it's obviously fitting because we were sitting here side to side talking about it, but some of our games, our greatest games, were just, they're what's the word? They're undescribable, because you just get off the field and it's like, wow, how did that happen? Like we talked about some of the things we've done in the field, like throwing the ball 20 meters from behind the ruck, long cutout passes, and it would probably suit the way the game is moving forward now. But my game that I was just in my element was always, I had it penciled in for when I was going to go back to Canberra, when I was playing for the Roosters down there at home at Canberra Raiders at their home ground. Everything I touched just turned to gold, and it was just like a little fairy dust was just thrown on me on the start of that game, and go out there, son, and just give them hell.
There was a game that year, and like Toddy said, whenever I think about that 2010 season playing with Toddy, everything just felt like the energy. You just think back, it was like everything was fluid. And it sounds weird for fans listening to that, but as a half, feeling that like fluid feeling and then in the zone, there's no better feeling. And that year, everything was just, it felt like that nearly every week. But for me, the game that stood out for us that year was the 2010 semi-final against Penrith. When we won to get to the second round, we played at Allianz, and that was silky. Yeah. Like I remember we just together we combined great, but there was just heaps of mad tries, and just felt it was our first finals sort of for the club for a while. Oh, 2010 obviously had a big year. It was our first finals game, and I just remember that game felt pretty special.
Do you still train, and do you play any other competitive sport?
Yes, I still try. I train every day. It's a part of my little routine that I get it through. I train every day. I just finished, last year was my last year of playing any type of rugby league. I've been getting fielding a few questions from teams if I want to play. Jeremy Smith is coaching the Runaway Bay Seagulls this year. The great Jeremy Smith, he beat us in the grand final. He's reached out to me. I'm a 50-50 chance of going for a game in a trial next weekend to see how I feel. But yeah, no, I don't at the moment. It's a no, but I do train every day.
Yeah, I train a fair bit. I train a couple of mornings a week, and then lately I've been going to the gym nearly every day. I don't play any other sports. When I was in France, last couple of years, I was playing paddle, which is a form of tennis. Yeah, it's like tennis, but it's a smaller court, and you can hit it against. Sorry, I've got a little cough. It can hit the back fence. There's glass windows on the back. So any of the fans who know paddle, I'm sure they know what I'm talking about. But there's got a grass fence, so if it hits the back fence, it can bounce once and then you can play on. So it's a little bit like squash, but tennis. But it's easy because you can serve. The space to serve your to land your serve is bigger. Paddle. You never heard of paddle?
Paddle. No. When you get back over there, I want you to send us a live video of you playing paddle.
Mate, it's that fun.
Do you wear like little white shorts and white socks and white shoes? Do you have to wear that kind of stuff, or you just wear whatever?
No, you just wear whatever. It's just like a tennis court.
I was trying to get real exotic there with you, and you're going to tell me you have to wear something real weird.
Yeah, I wear budgies. Just budgies, no clothes. No, they've got indoor paddle courts, like big open, like indoor centre, and then they've got outdoor ones like a tennis court. It's a great game, paddle. Good for the fitness too, Toddy.
I might give it a go. Like I said, I've never heard of paddle, but I'm sure if you sort of vote for it, I'll give it a crack. Who knows? We might have a game together before you go back to France and leave us here.
Yeah, keen.
All right, boys, last question, and we've got our first hotline call. I don't know if he's left his name, but...
Boys, just want to get your insight in why on earth Parramatta capitulates so hard when Mitch Moses is out of the side injured. Like, I get he's a great player, he's one of my favourite players, but like defence, everything just goes completely missing. What's your thoughts?
Very good question, and it's a hard way to answer it because obviously it's a massive rap for Mitchell Moses on how much sort of weight he carries in that team. The thing that when you lose Mitchell Moses straight away, you lose his kicking game, you lose your captain, you lose your best player. Obviously, he doesn't make all the tackles that they miss, but what he does do, he gives the team to start their sets in better positions on the field. So, for instance, on the weekend, Ronald Volcom took a fair bit of the kicking, not the biggest kicker, where if Moses was kicking, the ball would be finishing 30 metres down the field rather than finishing on the 30 or 40. They're bringing the ball out of their 10-metre line more often than not. So that changes the way that the game's being played. But it's a massive one too that they're asking about that round one. If you look back to last year, it was very similar. When Mitchell Moses doesn't play, they struggle. And a lot of teams are in that position when their key player doesn't play. It always falls back down. I think it's an excuse all the time. It's an easy out for people to say, oh, well, when Mitchell Moses comes back, it'll be a different team. It could be 5-6 weeks. The season will be done by that time. I think first and foremost, for a Parramatta fan, is that you want your kickers to aim up this weekend and kick long and kick the corners. And build pressure that way. That's the only way you can build pressure if your team's struggling defensively, I think, is by changing the momentum through their kicking game and finding their front that way.
Yeah, it's so true, Toddy, what you're saying of having that kicking game and that organiser. When he's not in your team, obviously there's going to be a hole. But the biggest worry for Jason Riles isn't about bringing Mitch Moses back in to add that little bit of spice. It's the 50 points that they leaked in defence. And regardless who's playing, you can bring Wally Lewis, Joey Johns, bring them all in. If you defend like that on the weekend, Parramatta's going to stay in a hole. But there's no doubt as well, though, that those really marquee players, a guy like Mitch is so infectious, does have an influence. Even in defence, he does help the boys around him. He gives them confidence, but he's not going to bring them 50 points, is he? And and to make Mitch's job more effective as well, the rest of that crew need to aim up for him over the next couple of weeks.
I will give a bit of a positive side to the Parramatta fans listening, and obviously that's the question. Is in that game they had 50-50 possession of the ball. Parramatta won the second half. So if they can play the way they did in the second half and get some parts right and not get sort of beaten off the ball early like they did against Melbourne, they'll be in with the game. So if they can play like they did in the second half against the Tigers or any team, they'll beat most teams, or they'll be in the game. It's not about winning, it's about being in the contest. But the sad thing about rugby league is it doesn't go for 40 minutes, it goes for 80. So they need to back up their 40-minute performance on the weekend, start that in the first half against the Tigers, and you'll see a completely different team. And I'm sure Rolls would be saying that straight away. He's won the second half.
It was great. It was great leadership after the game. I saw Rolls' press conference. We've obviously played with Rolls. Rolls' been in the best systems for the last 12 years. He's coached rugby union at a high level. He's been around in a lot of systems. So Rolls, and basically the answer in his press conference, he looked really calm, and he's like, we're going to go through some teething problems. We put a lot of change and new systems in place. And we've been in systems like this. For the Parramatta fans, we've played in systems. Me and Toddy have played in systems like this before, where it's a true story. You go through, when you go through a lot of change, there's a bit of teething problems at the start, and then at the back end, you get a lot of reward. Para will come good. They'll be right. But more than just the technical stuff to change, on the weekend, there was a poor attitude around their D. So that's something that he would have been more disappointed in than the little tweaks that he's made to their systems. Their systems will get them. They'll get them some joy in the back end of the year. They'll be right, Para. But it's the attitude around not wanting to tackle, which was obvious on the weekend. That's not going to win them games.
I think we'll get them joy this weekend against the Tigers. I'm going to go against you. Sorry, I'll just pop that in late. Just because I want to fight you.
Yeah, actually, now I'm thinking about I might jump fence. I might go back to Para.
Yeah, let's jump on the Para bandwagon.
Yeah. But honestly, as we just said, they'll come good, Para. Like, Riles a great coach. It will take time, but for them to make the 8 and kick on and actually have really good success, they've got to find that balance. They can't be throwing that shit up. And
Dylan Brown will have some massive weight off his shoulders, like the stress of what he would have been going through, trying to make the decision. Obviously, his pockets will be heavy, but I'm sure he'll be sweet. He'll start firing this week. He's made his decision.
Hey, half his luck. Well done, mate. Mate. That's outstanding.
Yeah, this alone. Well, that's a absolute ringer wrap for our 6s and 7s footy nerd questions. To all the listeners and viewers that sent in your questions or called in some of your questions, we appreciate it. And this time next Wednesday or Thursday, that'll be live to you guys. We'll be fielding your questions again. So we appreciate all your thought and what goes into getting our questions, and hopefully we answer them to our best of our ability. And to any footy nerds out there listening, make sure you fire us some more for next week. Anything, go deep. Piercy liked the pyramid, Chris Wayne about the pyramid. So if there's some people out there a little bit quirky, Piercy goes down that little bit of a quirky side. So just ask him some real weird questions of why he dyes his hair.
Can I read a message from a fan that I had the other day about dyeing my hair? Can I read it?
Yeah, read it. Get it going.
Give me a couple of minutes here.
Maybe don't say his name because he might not tell people he dyes his hair.
I'm not going to tell his name. I'm not going to snitch on his name. But
let's snitch him.
I had a real good laugh about this. Toddy brought up that I dye my hair last episode for all those listening, and I can't lie, I've dyed my hair on occasions. But this is the message I got after I got back on my phone. Piercy, no one cares if you dye your hair. Just own it. I used to dye mine and hated the greys, especially because I'm only 35. Started going grey pretty early as well, but you'll be surprised that everyone probably knows it, but just doesn't want to say it. Own it, mate.
Own it, because you know what? It goes red.
Honestly, it made my night that.
How good.
Own it.
How good. Own it.
I'm going home to read up about pyramids so we can give Big Wayne a good, honest, thorough answer, Toddy.
Well, before you go home and sort of do some research on the pyramids, we've got some games to cover for this weekend. Round 2, some big teams need to perform and bounce back from round 1. And our first one is Thursday night. We've got the Newcastle Knights up against the Dolphins. Who wins? And a little brief message of why.
I'm actually going to the game on Thursday night, tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. I think Newcastle at home. I just think the home ground advantage. Newcastle hard to beat up there. Dolphins travelling again. They were pretty poor last week, the Dolphins, especially that first half. Obviously, lots of stress and stuff like that with the floods. So there was plenty of valid excuses, and rightly so. But yeah, they need to take it up a gear. The Dolphins at home against Newcastle for sure. It's going to be a tough game, and I'm actually looking forward to watching Newcastle first time at home. They were a bit disappointed in themselves last week, and they'll be up for a big one.
First try scorer.
I was going to say Kalen Ponga again. It's just KP,
Beautiful.
KP.
All right, I'm going to answer this one. Friday, Warriors versus Sea Eagles over in New Zealand. I'm going to go the Manly Sea Eagles just because of the way they played last weekend. They just blew the team off the park. The Warriors, I still think they're going to have teething issues with their halves. I think they'll be better than what they were in Vegas. But I just think Manly are just way too good. My first try scorer will be Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. On our second game Friday night, which you'll be answering, is the Penrith Panthers versus Sydney Roosters.
Hey, I'm going to back Penrith here. Yeah, look, I think Penrith, for many reasons, the form that they showed in round one, obviously in Vegas, they're the team of the last 5 years. Everything about Penrith is up, up, up. They just keep improving time and time again. Roosters aren't in the best of positions at the moment. Penrith for me.
First try scorer.
First try scorer, I'm going to go. Who can I go? I'm going to go Liam Martin, someone different.
1 to 12 or 13 plus.
13 plus.
Our first game on Saturday, 2 p.m. Dragons versus the Rabbitohs. I'll be answering this one. And I'm going to go with an upset. I'm going to say the Bunnies will beat the Dragons.
That's a fair call.
The Cody Walker effect is going to get better. I think Jamie Humphries will be better for his run. And I just think South will be too good for him.
Yeah, I agree.
And my first try scorer is Jack Whiten from a kick off Cody Walker, and it'll be 1 to 12.
I think Jackie's suspended.
There you go. He won't be scoring any tries then, Jack Whiten. We've just been informed by our producer, Caleb, that Cody or Caleb?
Cody.
Cody, sorry, Caleb, Caleb. We've just been informed that Jack Whiten is suspended. So I'm going to go with Campbell Graham off a kick from Cody Walker for the first try scorer. Our second game on Saturday is the Cowboys looking to bounce back against the Cronulla Sharks. Who wins and why?
Nah, Sharks for me in this one. I just think Cowboys are a bit rocky at the moment. They're obviously going to bounce back, but as we just touched on before with the big call on the change to the team there, dropping one of their star players, and Cronulla's in. They played well in first round. They played really well against Penrith. They were in the fight. They look good. They'll be top 4 for me this year, and I think they'll get the job done up there.
First try scorer.
I'm going to go Mulatano.
1 to 12 or 13 plus.
I'll go 1 to 12 because I think it'll be closer being up there.
Dum, dum. And the game of the round for me is the Canberra Raiders. I bleed green up against the Broncos at home at GIO Stadium. The Broncos are $1.22 and the Raiders are $4.35. I'm going to go for an upset. I think Canberra beat them at home.
Yeah, wow.
I'm probably a little bit outlandish, but
can't question your loyalty, can we?
Well, that's right.
No,
Second versus fourth. It's only round one, so
why, Toddy? Why are they going to win up there? How can you go against Broncos after what they did round one?
Well, I think one that Ricky will have them ready to ambush the Broncos. I thought the way the Raiders played in Vegas against the Warriors, their starting pack in Papali, Tarpany, and Corey Horsburgh all started. I think he'll go with that same starting pack, and I think they'll get the jump on the Broncos early, and I think they'll hold on. Could be wrong. First try scorer will be Reece Walsh, and it'll be 1 to 12.
1 to 12, Canberra to win.
Sunday afternoon, the Parramatta Eels up against the West Tigers. This is a good game.
Yeah, this will be good.
And this is over to you.
I'm going to go Tigers. I think Tigers did some good stuff last week. I think they'll be confident out of that, even though they just got pipped on the bell. With Jerome, first game, a few teething problems, but there was lots of good stuff there for the Tigers. I feel like they're a bit more. They got less to lose. I don't think losses will keep the Tigers down as much as it will with Para, if that makes sense. I think with Para where they're at, that was a huge kick in the guts, I reckon, after their first round. The way they lost mounts a little bit of pressure. And I just think with the Tigers, I think they're on the way up. So I'm gonna back the Tigers. And I think
First try scorer?
First try scorer, I'm going to go Jerome. I just reckon he's going to get a heap of touches early, take the line on. But I'm going to go. I'm going to be a close game. I reckon 1-12.
Beautiful. And our final game of round 2 is the Bulldogs up against the Gold Coast Titans. Titans haven't played a game. They're the bye round 1. I'm going to have to go the Bulldogs purely because the way they played in round 1, they've had a game under their belt. Down in Sydney, home ground advantage. I just think they'll be too tough for the Titans. I think Titans will put up a fight early, but I just think the Dogs will just stay in the fight and finish the game. And I think by the end of the game they'll be run out winners quite convincingly.
First try
scorer is Kickout, and I'm going to go 1-12.
1-12. I could see the Dogs hammering them, to be honest with you.
It's a big test. Like as we talk about trial form and stuff like that, and there's a big difference to trials to round 1 or round 2, but they'll be their first round. The pressure is going to be on the halves. The way, as we spoke about, and we spoke about this, about the Bulldogs, the way they played, is they're relentless. They don't give away any cheap meters. So the halves for the Titans have to be on. They're going to have quick pressure. They're going to be in their face. So it's going to be a big test for the Titans in the halves because it will be their toughest test, especially because it's round 2, but up against the Dogs team that is relentless in those small areas about controlling the ruck, putting kick pressure on, hunting on every play. So they're going to have their work cut out. So it'll be a big test. Sweet.
You fucking nailed it. Bro, you nailed it. No, Dogs for me. I'm excited to watch the Dogs over the next couple of weeks. They were red hot the other day. I just think, I'm looking forward to Sexton. We speak about halves a lot, but he had some really good touches last week. Some of his short passing, taking the line on. I'm excited to watch him over this next 6 weeks. He looked super fit, looked confident.
I know it's only round 2. But give us a rundown of who you reckon the top 8 will be.
Well, I've said my top 4. I've said Melbourne, Penrith, Cronulla, Broncos.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Then you've got Manly.
I've got Bulldogs.
Bulldogs, Manly.
I'd have Bulldogs 5, Manly 6. Yeah, you put me on the spot here, but my 7 and 8 are up in the air.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Raiders? Early signs, I'd say Raiders.
Well, let's to throw a few out there. When we were talking at the start of the year, when we were just coming up with assumptions about the season and our own opinions, I had Dolphins, Cowboys, Canberra. There was someone else that was sniffing around. Oh, Warriors. I had Warriors. I had big hopes for Warriors, but I had them sniffing around that, fighting for that bottom 7 and 8. That probably hasn't changed. Dragons, Dragons I had around there too. So those sort of sides, I know I'm sitting on the fence again, but if the Dragons, I said it last week after the Dogs game, if the Dragons, and what I said about the Dragons was that Flanagan gives me confidence. I've never been coached by Flanagan, but from their improvement in 12 months that he's been there, just around their dogfight attitude, their starting to learn the grind. And they were right in that fight against the Dogs the other last week. What let them down was their discipline and their applying that kick pressure and those, that like you said, that being that real hunter. But if they can get that in their game, which I think they can evolve as the year goes on because of Flano, they may sneak in there. I do like Canberra too, though. Let's see how they go over the next few weeks. I know you bleed Canberra. But for me, the way they played round 1, 100%, you put them in there. But how they go over this next, I'm looking forward to watching them over the next 6 weeks. They could be a dark horse.
I'm with you. It's but as we said, we've got our top 4 always ready to go. And whoever, I believe, anywhere after the top 5, they're making up the numbers for finals.
Yeah, it's the top 4.
And then we've got 2 teams that got beat by 50 on the weekend, so they may as well go start organising Mad Monday because they're not playing finals or winning the comp. History shows.
Let's see the history history gets changed this year, but that's a massive stat, isn't it? You go into the sheds after a 50-point loss, you just look at the coach, just go, it's done. I'm going overseas.
See ya.
Round 3.
Well, that's another wrap for the 6s and 7s. Thank you to the footy nerds. But that's all for today, and enjoy your footy over round 2, and we'll see you all Monday, bright and early, to chat more footy. Love yous.
Thanks for the questions, footy nerds. Come join the tribe, the footy nerd tribe.
And Chris Wayne, I'm coming at you with the answer for the pyramids, buddy.
Yeah, I'm on Google now. I'm ready to roll.
You got to show us this Google screen, dogs.
Later, bruh.
Later, bruh.